Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video I'm going to be bringing you another house tutorial. This time I'm going to be showing you how to make Spongebob's house. This is going to be the version of Spongebob's house that I showed you guys in my 100k subscriber special. I decided not to make any changes to it. A lot of you guys explained to me that there was like a garage door that's supposed to be back there and a couple of other bits, but I decided that that might ruin the aesthetics of the house. So I've left it as is. I still haven't made an interior for it, nor do I ever plan to. I've just left it empty, so if that's a deal breaker for you guys, if you don't want to make the house because there's no interior, that's alright. If you do want to make it, however, here's what you're going to need. You're going to need brown wool, dark grey, light grey, lime green wool, orange wool. You will also need some form of glass. I would go with glass pane. You'll also need a door. I'm going with iron. And finally, the last thing on our list is buttons. I would highly recommend the grey ones. So once you've got all of your materials and once you've figured out where you want to make it, I'm going to be making it right here. You're going to want to start this all off by stacking 2 orange wool directly on top of each other. So 1, 2. Then, from the second orange wool, do an up left diagonal. Then place 4 on top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then do an upright diagonal. Place 3 on top. 1, 2, 3. Then do another upright diagonal. Place 2 on top. 1, 2. Then another upright diagonal. Place 1 on top. Then do 3 upright diagonals. So 1, 2, and 3. From the third upright diagonal, go to the right by 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me show you the shape that you want to have made so far. The reason that I'm showing you this is because this is going to be the most important shape of the tutorial. You get this wrong, you get the whole house wrong. So let me just throw you through the numbers that we've got so far. So starting from the beginning, we've got a row of 2, then a row of 5, then a row of 4, then 3, 2, 1, 1, 9. Pause that if necessary. Once you've done that, we can make the other side of the shape, and all we're going to be doing is the inverse of what we've just done. So starting from the right hand side of our row of 9, you're going to want to do 3 bottom right diagonals, so 1, 2, 3. From the third bottom right diagonal, place 1 block underneath. Then do a bottom right diagonal. Place 2 blocks underneath. 1, 2. Then another bottom right diagonal. Place 3 blocks underneath. 1, 2, 3. Then another bottom right diagonal. Place 4 blocks underneath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, to finish off this shape, do a bottom left diagonal and then a block underneath to give you our starting shape and the largest portion of the pineapple. This is what you want to have. As you can see, it's completely symmetrical, so if you manage that first side, and that's why I ran the numbers down for you, you manage that first side, you can do the second side. Once you've done that, and pause this if necessary of course, it's time for us to reinforce this a little bit. So what we've just done there, we're going to want to do essentially 2 more times, but of course it's easy because all we have to do is trace along what we already have. So you're going to want to have, in total, 3 of our starting shape. So you're just going to want to add 2 layers on top of what we have. So just place in either direction, by the way. You can start on this side or you can start on that side. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you end up with 3 layers of what we started with. So hopefully you're being a little less inaccurate with your block placing, but once you've finished, you're going to want to have something which should look a little bit like that. That's looking a little beefier, isn't it? So once you've done that, it's time for us to make this pineapple start looking a little more 3D. So it's going to be kind of difficult for me to explain what we're going to be doing next, but I'm going to give it my best shot before I try. So the next portion of this pineapple, all we want to do is kind of like trace around the inside of the shape that we have now, except it wants to be one block closer towards us. So you're going to want to do this. I'm going to show you what I mean. So you're just going to want to start one block inwards of what you did from the original shape, and you're just going to want to do pretty much the exact same shape, except of course it is one block inwards and therefore slightly smaller. You also want to do this with the top row. The top row, you're just going to want to cut one short either end, so it wants to be as high as it is originally, except as I said, it just wants to be one shorter, so like this. And then just trace around the inside of it again. As I said, it's somewhat difficult to explain, but I imagine it will be very easy for you guys to see what I'm doing, and once I have finished it, I imagine that it will be even easier still to see what I've done. So you're just going to want to do this. Is it fairly obvious to you guys what I've done there? Just traced around the inside like that? I hope so, because that's what you need to do. So pause that if necessary. That's what you want to do. Once you've done that, you're just going to want to, again, add another layer on it. So this time we're only going to want to have 2 layers of this shape. However, we're still going to be using the exact same process to do it. So just trace along what you already have until you have, in total, 2 layers of the shape. So you're going to want to have something which should look a little bit like that. And let me just show you what it wants to look like from the side. So it just wants to look like that. It should be fairly simple for you. So once you've done that, we're going to be doing the exact same thing on the other side of the pineapple. So what I mean by the exact same thing, I mean quite literally the exact same thing. So the exact same procedure, you're on the other side of the pineapple now, and you just want to, again, one block outwards, one block inwards, just kind of trace along the inside of the pineapple, because of course the shape of the pineapple is symmetrical. What we do to one side, we've got to do to the other side until we get to the detailings later on. But for the general shape of the pineapple, we just want to make sure that we have the same thing on both sides. So once you have finished doing the first layer on this side as well, you're also just going to want to reinforce it as you did on the other side. So you just do the one layer, and as you did on the other side, you're just going to want to add that extra layer on as well. So as I'm doing now, you're just going to want to have 2 solid layers of that ever so slightly smaller pineapple. So let me just finish this off and then show you what it should look like from both the front view of it, like this. As you can see, the exact same as we have on the other side. And just to give you a side view, you're going to want to have something which should look a little bit like that. Alright, so once you've reached this point right here, and pause this if necessary of course, it's time for us to move on. So move to whichever side you prefer. It doesn't really matter which side you start on, as I've mentioned, we're doing the same thing to both sides anyway, so pick a side, any side, it really doesn't matter. And what we're doing next is very similar to what we've just done. So on your given side, and again I'm not really going to try and explain this, it's probably just better to explain by doing, we're just going to be going through a similar sort of procedure. So one block outwards and one block inwards of the outline, you're just going to kind of want to trace around it, as you've already done. How many times before? About 4 times before, so just as you've already done. One block inwards. The only tricky part might be that part at the top, so I'll just show you that again once I have finished with this. So the sides are fairly simple, but at the top it still wants to be the same height. You don't want to cut any off there, but you do want to just knock off one off of each end like this. So you're going to want to do one layer that is exactly like that. Now there is another layer of this, But here's where it gets slightly tricky, so you may have to pay attention for this. So once you've done this one layer, and pause this if necessary of course, you're going to want to do this, and we may as well just start with the trickier bits. So you want to do this. At the top here, you're just going to want to do that row there, and then you're just going to want to do a row of 3 on top of it, like so. So, like that. And then you can just proceed to copy the rest of the outline that you've just made. It is just that top little bit that differs. I can't remember the reasoning for it differing, as I did indeed make this, but for whatever reason I decided that is how I made it, that is how it's staying. So the second layer, as I showed you, is meant to be ever so slightly different. So pause that if necessary. Once you've done that to that side, you're going to want to go and do the exact same thing to the other side. So coming over to the other side here, and that's why I said it doesn't really matter which side you start on, since you're going to be doing the same thing over here that you've just done over there. So starting off, doing the fairly basic, just copying the outline and just reducing it by 1. You get to the top here, still the same height, you just knock 1 off of each end, and then continue tracing around the inside of the previous shape. So just as I'm doing right now, fairly simple, until you're left with something which should look a little bit like that. So that is the first layer, and I'm just going to show you the second layer again, just in case the first time wasn't enough. So that's the first layer. Pause that if necessary, let me show you the second layer. So starting from the top, since this is the only bit that differs, you're on the second row from the top, and you're just going to do this row right here, so from left to right. Then you're just going to do that little row of 3 on top of it, and then the rest of it you're just going to want to trace on top. So you're just going to want to have 2 layers of this in total, until you have something which should look a little bit like that. So pause that if necessary. Let me show you what that wants to look like from the side, since it's starting to shape up a little bit. So that's what you want to have from the side. Alright, so once you've reached this point right here, and pause this if necessary of course, it's time for us to move on to the next part of the tutorial. So come around to your preferred side of the house. I'm going to be starting on the front of mine, although it is only front in name. There's currently no way of discerning which is the front and which is the back. They're kind of similar. So here's what you're going to want to do once you're on your chosen side. So come up to the second row from the top. So this row right here, I'm kind of highlighting. You'll notice that we have a row of 7 orange wool. Take my word for it, that's a row of 7. What you want to do in front of that row of 7 is a row of 5. So just kind of knock 1 off each end and just do a row of 5 directly in front of it. That is now the top row of the next section of pineapple that we're going to be doing. So once you've done your row of 5 orange wool, what you then want to do is kind of what we've been doing all along, and just kind of trace around the inside of the previous section of pineapple. So you guys are going to be fairly good at this now, so I don't feel as though there's any reason to talk about this. Just do exactly what we've been doing for the past, I don't even know how long it's been, 15 minutes, 17, 20, I don't know, time flies by. So once you've finished that, you're going to want to be left with something that should look a little bit like that. So pause that if necessary, and once you've done that, you're going to want to go and do the exact same thing on the other side. That's right, we are going to only want 1 layer of what we've just done. So moving over to the other side, doing the exact same thing, starting from the second row from the top, this row right here. Do a row of 5 in front of your row of 7, trust me, that's a row of 7. Then just do the exact same thing that you've done all along, so just trace around the inside of the previous section. And of course this section is a little bit different to the other sections. Of course it's ever so slightly smaller. It's a little bit shorter by one, as you may have noticed, and there is only one layer of this, whereas there has previously been at least 2 or 3, so this layer, special little snowflake indeed. And once you've finished it, again, you're going to want to be left with something that should look a little bit like this, so pause this if necessary of course, let me give you a side view. It's what I've been doing all along, so I figure for continuity's sake. That is what you want to have so far. Alright, so once you've reached this point right here, and pause this if necessary of course, it's time for us to do the final layer of our pineapple. So come over to the preferred side of your house. I'm going to be starting on the front of mine. And I'm going to explain what you want to do whilst I do it, just to save a little bit of time. So, fundamentally, for this final side, we're going to be doing the exact same thing that we've done many times already. And by that I mean, one block outwards, you just want to trace along the inside of the previous section, like I'm doing now. Except, here's where it's slightly different. Instead of doing anything funky at the top this time, like we did on the previous sections, all but the one that we just did, we've maintained the height of the pineapple and we've had to do some crazy things at the top. However, this time, all you have to do is just literally trace along the inside of the previous section. So like this. You get to the top and you just continue going round like there is nothing else to it. So this most outer section, this final section, should be 1 block shorter than the previous layer of pineapple, and it should look a little bit like that. And once you have done that, pause this if necessary of course, all you have to do to finish off this most outer layer is fill in that entire middle section in with orange. So you're going to want to do that, and it's going to take us a little while. Oh, the joy. I really do hate doing this. This is the most hated thing I have in Minecraft. Just filling in large sections of something with anything. It's just, the pain of it all. However, this most outer section does have the benefit of being the easiest to do, so let me just show you what it wants to look like once you've finished. It should come out looking a little bit like that. Nothing too hard about that, I hope, so pause that if necessary. Once you've done that, you're going to want to go and do the exact same thing all the way over on this other side here. So, as I said, the exact same thing on this other side. So, start off by just tracing along the inside of the previous section, as we do. Get up to the top here, we don't do anything special, we just continue tracing. And then once we've finished tracing, which we'll finish in about 15 or so seconds, we'll just fill in this middle section and we will have ourselves a pineapple. Or something close to a pineapple. Probably looks nothing like a pineapple. Honestly, to me, looking at it now, it looks more like a coconut. If it was brown, I think that it resembles one much better than it does a pineapple. However, it's close enough. It's close enough. We need the leaves. That's what makes this more pineappular. So, we've almost finished filling in this section on the back here. And once you have, it should come out looking a little bit like that. So, of course, pause this if necessary. Let me just give you a little bit of a 360 of what we've just made, just to show you what it should look like once it's entirely done. Looking pretty good if you ask me, looking somewhat pineappular shaped. Oh, that's right, I'm making up words now. Pretty pineappular if you ask me. So once you've reached this point right here, you have made the general shape of your pineapple. Next, we're going to be building up the leaves that sit on top. So once you have reached this point right here, here's what you want to do. Take a sideways view of your building, just as I am now. Come up to the tippy top of your building where we have this oval surface right here. Make your way towards the front where we have these 3 orange wool. And on top of this middle orange wool that I've highlighted now, and the block directly behind it, you're just going to want to place 2 line walls. So 1, 2, like that. I hope it's easy enough to see where I've just placed those. Then, once you've placed those 2 wool, you're going to want to maintain your sideways view, somewhat important for this. It makes explaining it pretty easy. What you want to do, on top of the left line wall, the one closest towards the front of the house, you want to place a line wall on top. Then one going left. And one on top. Then one going left. Then you're going to want to place 7 on top of the one that you just went left with. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. To give you something which should look a little bit like that. Pause that if necessary. Once you've done that, we're going to be building up a little bit around that. So again, this is kind of hard to explain positioning, but right here, like diagonal to the right line wall that you can see here, you're going to want to, you guys can see where that is, where I have highlighted. Right here, you're going to want to place 2 line wall going up. So 1, 2, like that. What you then want to do, from the upper line wall, you're going to want to go left 1, up 1, left 1, up 1, left 1, and then up by 3. So 1, 2, 3. So it kind of hugs what you've already made, so it should look a little something like that. Pause that if necessary. Once you've done that, you're going to want to go and do the exact same thing on the other side. So right here, just parallel to what you've made, you want to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go a little quicker. So diagonal to that block right there, 2 up, 1 going right, 1 going up, 1 right, 1 up, 1 right, then 3 on top. All you have to do realistically is copy what you did on the other side, and you should be left with something that looks a little bit like that. Pause that if necessary. Once you've done that, you're going to want to go and do the exact same thing on here. So you're going to want to go and do the exact same collection of leaves on the back. So again, starting from the middle for orange here, just place 2 line wall going towards the front this time, so right here, and then on top of the most outward lime green, maintaining the sideways view just to make it easy to explain, although you have done the same thing on that side, place 1 on top, 1 going right, 1 on top, 1 going right, 7 on top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, to give you something that should look like that. Pause that if necessary, of course. Then doing the outer leaves, starting from here, diagonal of the most inward block, right here. You want to go up 2, then right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, then up by 3, 1, 2, 3, to give you something which should look like that. You then want to do the exact same thing on the other side. So here, without crashing into anything, diagonal again. Again, I'm going to do this a little faster. Up 2, left 1, up 1, left 1, up 1, left 1, up 3. Again, realistically, you just have to copy what you did on the other side, and you should be left with something that should look a little bit like that. Pause that if necessary. What you then may want to do is just have a look at both sides, like so, the front and the back, and make sure they're even. They seem to be. So once you're happy that you've done that right, it's time for us to add a few more leaves. So return back over to your original side, this side right here, and you'll notice that we have 3 orange wool. Well, what you want to do is place a lime wool on top of that middle orange wool right here, and then you want to place a lime wool directly next to it, coming out from the house. So instead of this time coming in towards the center, you want to go out toward the house, and it's probably going to be easier if you take a view like I have now, in which I'm at the front of the house looking towards the back like this. It will just make it easier to explain. So once you've placed your 2 lime wool, and you guys shouldn't have any trouble with that whatsoever, you're going to want to, on top of the second lime wool, this outer one, place 1 on top, then 1 going right, then 1 on top, 1 going right, and then 4 on top. 1, 2, 3, 4, to give you something which should look like that. Once you've done that, it's time for us to add a few more leaves around it. So what you want to do is diagonal from this block right here. You guys can see where that is. Again, difficult to explain. You guys can see where it is, however. Here, you're going to want to place 2 lime wool going up, then 1 going right, then up, right, and then up by 2. 1, 2. So you should have something which looks like that. Once you've done that to that side, you're going to want to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So over here, just copy what you have on the other side. There's no point in going through this because, of course, all you have to do is just look directly forward and copy what you've already done. You guys can manage that no problem. So do that on the other side. What you then want to do, return back over to your original side, this side right here. And this one's slightly trickier to explain. So this time we have a leaf that's suspended in mid-air. And it wants to start here. Well, you know, it doesn't want to start here. It wants to start here. Let me just show you. You want to have a block that's kind of just floating in front of the leaf that you've just done, so right there. And then once you've done that, I'll give you guys 2 seconds to do that. 1, 2. Once you've done that, you want to place a block on top of it. Then a block going right. And then you want to go up by 3. 1, 2, 3. So you want to have something which should look like that. And you want to do the same thing on the other side. So coming over to the other side, here, spend the block, then up, left, then up by 3. So should have something which looks like that. Returning over to our original side, we only have one more leaf to do. So this one is, however, slightly trickier. So you're going to want to place a block here. You guys can see where that is. It will just kind of like bridge the gap between these two line walls. Place a block here. Then go 1 up. But then this time you're going to want to come 1 towards you. So 1 towards you. Then 1 up again. And then we start going right. So you then want to go right 1. Then up by 3. So 1, 2, 3. So let me just show you what that wants to look like. And maybe give you a bit of a side view just to show you what we've done. I mean, it should be easy enough for you guys to do, but I want to make sure. So you want to do that. And then of course you want to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So once you've done that, you're here. Then you want to place 1, then 1 on top, then 1 coming towards you, then 1 on top, then left 1, and then up by 3. 1, 2, 3. So you've got the exact same shape that you do on the other side. And let me just show you that. Show you the whole thing together. And then a bit of a side view, just to make sure. And then, once you've done that, you've actually done almost the side leaf. You've done the important parts. That's the difficult bit. I'm sorry if that was hard to follow, but it's kind of difficult to explain, as you might imagine. All you need to do to now finish off that side part of the leaf is come on the inside, and you'll notice that we just have a little gap here on either side. All you want to do is just plug that gap. You want to place a line wall here and here, and that will just make everything look a little bit better. It's all enclosed in now. So once you've done that, and once you're happy that you've done that side, we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other side of our pineapple. So you come over to the other side, you place a line wall on the middle 3 of the orange, then 1 going outwards from the house, like that. Then on top of the outward block you place 1 on top, then 1 going left, 1 on top, 1 going left, and then 4 on top. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have the same thing that we've just done on the other side. And I'm going to be taking this ever so slightly faster, but not that fast, just in case you guys didn't grasp it the first time, because I know that it must be difficult to do these, or at least to follow my explanation. So you want to start off with that. Then you're going to want to diagonal from this block right here. You guys can see where. You want to place 2 going up, then 1 going left, 1 up, 1 left, 1 up, 1 left, and then 2 up. And you want to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side as well. This, however, does not require any explanation, so just copy what you had on the other side. I'm going to be working a little bit into the dark with this, since it's not going to take us too long to do these leaves. So once you've done that, return back over to your original side. Now it's time for us to do the floating leaf, which starts right here. So you want to just have a block floating in the air, like that, in that position. You then want to place 1 on top, then 1 going left, and then 3 on top. 1, 2, 3. to give you that. And then you want to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So coming over to the other side here, this position, do a floating block, place one on top, one going right, and then three on top. Just as you did on the other side. Now I feel as though it is getting a little bit too dark to continue this, so in a second, I'm going to be back with the rest of this. So we had just reached this point before I had to cut it out, where we have both of the floating leaves done. All we have to do now is this final, more complicated part of the leaf. So returning back over to the starting side, this side right here, and you're going to want to place a block right here to bridge the gap diagonally between these two lime green wool. Then you want to place one on top, then one coming towards you instead of going left in the direction of the other leaves. So one coming towards you, you then want to place one on top, then one going left, and then three on top. 1, 2, 3. So you have something which should look like that, and from side view, like that. Once you've done it on that side, you want to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So coming over to this side, you want to place that lime green, which will bridge the gap between both of our leaves. You then want to place one on top, and then one coming towards you this way, then one on top, then one going right in the direction of the other leaves, and then three on top. 1, 2, 3. And once you've done that, you have finished the difficult part of the leaves once again on this side. So just to show you that, show you all together, then show you a side view. And of course, the only thing that we need to do to finish this off now is we just need to plug the hole from the inside. So we should just have two lime green that need placing here and here as well. And once you've done that, you should be left with something which should look a little bit like this. So that is what the top of your pineapple should look like once it's 100% done. And I do realise that the instructions for that may have been a little bit difficult to follow. So what I'm going to do is give you guys a nice 360-degree view around what we've just made, just so that you guys can check out what it's supposed to look like and compare it to yours. And of course, you guys should be able to feel free to pause the video where necessary to just 100% make sure that this is what yours looks like. So this is exactly what it should look like, and once I've finished giving you a nice little tour of this, we're going to move on to the finer details of the house. So the chimney, the door, the windows, and then finally the patterning on the front and the back of the pineapple. So there you go, that is exactly what the leaves of the pineapple should look like. Hopefully you guys should be able to do that no problem. Once you've done that, here's what you want to do. So come round to the front of your pineapple once again. Make sure that you have designated a side that is a front. Currently, it should be symmetrical, so you can really choose which side you want as a front. I've marked mine out with a bed. So once you are at the front, come over to the right-hand side of your pineapple. Then you're going to want to be exactly here. You see this block that I'm highlighting now? Well, I can't exactly describe that, can I? But that is where you want to be. So from this block that I'm highlighting, from this block that I'm highlighting, you're going to want to do this little sequence of blocks coming out of it. So you want to do one dark grey, one light grey, one dark grey, one light grey. So hopefully that'll further show you the positioning of where that wants to be. And this is the start of the chimney. And this is going to be somewhat difficult to explain as well, so I'm just going to break it down into stages and then just show you. So that is what you want to start the chimney off with, that little sequence of blocks. Then what you want to do is this. Underneath this first light grey, you're going to want to place two light grey coming down from that block. Then you're going to want to place a light grey coming towards you from the middle light grey. Then place a light grey underneath the second dark grey right here. So you're going to want to have something which should look like that. Once you've done that, pause that if necessary of course, you're going to want to do this. Place on top of the second dark grey, 4 more dark grey going up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, once you've done that, place a light grey in front of and behind the first dark grey block. Like this. So you've kind of made a plus shape around the block. Then, you want to do this. This is somewhat difficult to explain, so I'm just going to do it. What you then want to do with these top 3 dark grey blocks is this. You just kind of want to add a layer of light grey all the way around to form the rest of the chimney. So you're going to want to have something which should look like that. Just to give you a front view, pause that if necessary, let me give you a side view. That is what you want to have for the side, pause that if necessary. And just to finish this all off, all you want to do, come up to the top and knock out that top dark grey block, just to give the chimney a little bit of depth. And once you've done that, you have successfully done the chimney. So pause this if necessary if you're still working on the chimney, but if not, it's time for us to do some windows. So the first window that we're going to do is the side window. And it's kind of hard to explain the positioning for this, but it's going to be fairly simple for you guys to see which blocks I'm knocking out and what I'm going to be doing. So you're going to want to be on the front of your house, and you're going to want to knock out these 2 blocks right here. I'll knock them out so you guys can see clearly what I'm talking about. Knock out those 2 blocks, I'll give you a moment, and replace them with light grey. And again, all of these blocks that we've got to knock out for the window are somewhat difficult to explain, so I'm just going to do it and then show you guys the end result. There's no point in messing about with this. It's going to be fairly simple to see what I'm doing. So that is the little outline for the window. That should be really easy for you guys to see and just do to yours. Once you've done that, you then just want to knock out these 4 middle orange blocks. And as a matter of fact, it's probably going to be best if we use glass block for this. So whip out glass block, you should have enough room for it, and just replace the 4 orange blocks that you knocked out with glass block. And once you've done that, you should end up with something which should look a little bit like that. And that is all you want for the window. It is as simple as that. So just to give you a bit of a front view, this is what it should just look like from the front. You shouldn't be able to see it that well. So you could use glass pane, but honestly it's going to be a real headache to try and get the pane in that weird angle. So it's up to you, but you just want to end up with something that should look like that. Once you've done that, pause that if necessary of course, we've just got another window to add in. So this window is also on the front, and it is going to be positioned right here. So I'm just going to do this again and then just show you. I mean, there's no point in trying to explain positioning and beat around the bush with this. I may as well just show you where the outline of the window is, and you guys should have little to no trouble doing it for yourself. So that is the outline of the window. We're on the front of the house. You guys should be able to quite clearly see where we are with that. Nothing too difficult. Then knock out the orange blocks that are in the middle. And as a matter of fact, I actually kind of like this a little better. I don't like to place the glass like directly where we've destroyed the orange. I like to place it 1 block behind, but we're going to have to get inside for that. So we'll do that once we actually have access to the inside of the house, once we've done the door. So for now, just do the outline of that window and then we'll mess about with the door. So you just want to have that in that position. Pause that if necessary. Now it's time for us to do the door. So come down to the very bottom of the house, and you're on the front, and you want to knock out the 5 middle blocks of the first row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you should just have 3 orange blocks either side of the space that you've just knocked out. So you should have a row of 5. You then want to knock out the 3 rows of 5 just above it. So you should have in total 4 rows of 5. You then want to knock out a row of 3 above the 4th row of 5, like so. And whilst we're here actually, we're just going to install that glass that I talked about for that window. So let me just show you this. The reason that I like the glass a little behind, can you see what I mean? It just kind of gives a different effect than the glass that's up front. Kind of like what glass pane does, except without the pain of putting it in. So, and it looks a little better than glass pane since it sits a little further back. So I like the window like that. It's obviously up to you what you do. Back onto the doorway. So this is the space that you want for the door. Obviously you can see that it's quite large. Here's what you want to do. And again, you know what? I'm not going to try and explain this whatsoever. I'm just going to do it maybe in a couple of stages. And you guys should have no problem copying this. So you just want to start by outlining it with your dark grey like that. You then want to do this. We won't cut this into stages. It's going to be really easy for you guys to see what I'm doing. As a matter of fact, it'd almost be pointless. So you're just going to want to have something which should look like that, and we're going to add in the door later, just in case we have to pass into and around the house, because the door's going to be a little difficult since it's going to be mechanical. So you want to do that, and then what you want to do, on top of the light grey blocks, you just want to place buttons, and that just gives it a nice little effect, like that. You know how the metal in SpongeBob, like the door, it's got loads of bumps and stuff around it? Well, that's what the buttons are for, and it also has a purpose of opening and closing the door. So there you have it. Pause this if necessary, and once you've done that, all we have to do now is add the texture pattern to the pineapple, and unfortunately for me, this is, like many things on this house, something that I've just kind of got to do and then show you the end result. Like, explaining it isn't really an option, like it's kind of difficult to do. So what we're doing is we're adding like the bumpy texture to the pineapple in the form of brown wool. So essentially what we're doing is we're just adding diagonal strips of brown onto the front and soon to be back of the pineapple, so they're going to look like this, and that is the first strip of brown. Hopefully that won't be so difficult for you to add. As you can see, it starts right the way up here. It starts second row from the top of the orange part of the pineapple, and it comes all the way down here. It comes onto the second layer of the pineapple like that. So it just wants to look like that. Now, the second strip of brown is situated 3 blocks below the first strip. Well, it's technically 4, so you want to leave a space of 3. So 1, 2, 3, knock that out, and then just apply the diagonal strip of brown. I'm going to knock all of the blocks out first, I think, and then I think I'm going to add it in. So just wants to look a little bit like this. I don't know why I'm trying to explain this at all, because I don't think I'm going to be any help to you guys in that regard, but you should hopefully be able to see what I'm getting at. So all of the brown strips kind of follow the same sort of rules. They're all like, there's a space of 3 between them, and they don't really go any further than really the second layer of orange. So that is the second strip. I mean, hopefully you guys can see that clear enough. So putting in the third strip, 1, 2, 3, knock that out, and then just knock out the necessary blocks. Probably leave that one in there since that's going to be a little too far away. I wish I could make this any easier. I don't know how I can. I'm just gonna have to do what I'm doing now, I guess. I mean, I don't see any way to make this simpler. So this is the third strip of brown. You guys should be able to see that easy enough. Onto the fourth strip. 1, 2, 3, knock that out. Then follow the line down diagonally. So is that right? I think it is. So yeah, that's right. Just making sure that I did that correctly. Nah. I was contemplating going back a little further than the second layer of orange, but I don't think so. I don't think it would look right. I think I'm just keeping it to the first and second layer. So that is the fourth strip of brown. Pause that if necessary. Onto the fifth strip, so leaving a gap of 3. Fairly easy, as you can see. Yeah, we don't need any more than that. So that is the penultimate strip of brown. There doesn't need to be any on the left side of the pineapple because, as you can see, the door is in the way. And now just the final strip, so no. 1, 2, 3. Yes, there, oops, and then the window's in the way. So that is what you want for the final strip. I've not been telling you guys when to pause since I think it's fairly obvious when you should, but obviously pause where necessary. Let me just show you what the whole front of the pineapple wants to look like once you've added in your layers and layers of brown. So that is what you want to have. That is what the pineapple is supposed to look like once it's textured. That is the entire front done. Pause this if necessary, of course. Make sure that you've got that right. let's go ahead and move on to the back of the pineapple. So the back of the pineapple is very similar, except of course this time we just don't have any windows or doors or anything getting in the way. So it starts in the same position on the back as it does the front, which is on the second row here, and it starts on the second block from the right, so here, and then it just follows the same sort of rules. You're just doing diagonal strips of brown that don't really go any further than the second layer of orange, as you can see. So that is the first layer. Pause that if necessary, of course. Let's have a look at the second. So you just 1, 2, 3, knock that out, and then just knock out the necessary blocks. Again, not really going any further than the second layer. I mean, you can, and I'll probably explain why I chose to do it this way after I finished it entirely, but for now let's just focus on doing the brown. So that is the second strip of brown. Pause that if necessary, of course. Let's do the third. So the third, 1, 2, 3, knock that out, and then knock out a few blocks just to grease the groove of where we're going to put them. So that would then go oops, knocked out the wrong block. That would then go there. Yes, it would. I mean, you can work it out yourself, theoretically. That is the entire third strip of brown. Pause that if necessary. I mean, you can work it out yourself. As I said, it follows simple rules. They just want to be 3 blocks apart, as I've been doing. 1, 2, 3. Knock that out, and then obviously it's up to you. You can do what you want with it. I mean, you could place the brown closer together, further apart. You could not place it at all. You could try and have it wrap around the entire pineapple. It's up to you, but that is the fourth strip of brown. Pause that if necessary, of course. Let's do the fifth strip. So this is where it should start here. That's 1, 2, 3. Then just all the way up here. And obviously as you go further down, the strips just get shorter and shorter. So that is the fifth strip. Pause that if necessary, of course. Let's do the next one. And then this should be the final one where there just isn't much brown whatsoever. So that should be the... Is that sixth? Can I count? Yeah, that is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Making sure I don't say anything stupid. That is the sixth and final strip of brown. Should be nice and easy for you to add. Let me show you what the entire back of the pineapple wants to look like once it's got its entire brown texture. So that is what you want to have. Let me give you maybe a better angle for this. I don't think I'm going to get any better than that, actually. So that is what you want for the entire back of the pineapple. Pause that if necessary. There's only one thing left that we have to do, and then this tutorial is over, and that is throw on the door to the house. So there you have it. Once you have thrown on the door to the house, and once you've just finished doing the brown texture all about your pineapple, the tutorial is 100% complete over for you. There is nothing more for me to explain or show you. This is it. As you can see, I would say that I'd explain this. So the reason that the brown doesn't go all the way around the pineapple is because it starts looking weird when you get onto like layers 3 and 4. Like, it doesn't start matching up, it starts looking really patchy. Whereas if you confine the brown to the outer layers and the second and maybe even the third layer, it starts looking like an actual pattern. Whereas if you go further beyond that, it doesn't really make too much sense whatsoever. So there you have it. This is the tutorial portion, 100% complete. I hope that was easy enough to follow. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. So I thought that I might just add this little bit on the end here for those of you that wanted a little bit more out of the tutorial than you actually got. I figured that I'd show you what I did with my original SpongeBob house, which is what you're looking at right now. For those of you that don't really care about the interior, me included, this is what you may want to do to the outside to just make your house fit in a little bit more into the SpongeBob universe. And it doesn't really take too much time to do whatsoever. So here's what you want to do. Just knock out an area around the house, as you can see I've done. Replace it with sand, and then around there, since you can't place this onto the sand, around the sand, just place some grass block and some multicolored flowers in a seemingly random pattern, as you can see. And then, just to finish it all off, just add in a path that leads up to the door. And you may find, or at least I think this, you may find that the house is just improved ever so slightly with the little addition there. It just makes it look a little bit more Spongebobby. I don't know. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't, but I think it definitely makes an improvement, and that's all I wanted to say. That's all I wanted to add this little segment on here for. So, thanks for watching. I hope I gave you guys a few ideas. I hope that you guys are happy with the house. See you in the next video. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, maybe you should think about subscribing. I have plenty more stuff like this on my channel. I have tutorials ranging from YouTube statues, skin statues, houses, pixel art, the list goes on. Thanks for watching.